What's up, people? It's your boy BG checking in. Coming to tap in with you today about why Bitcoin, Savings Account Edition. Now, for my people that don't live in America, this should be an easy one for you because from what I understand, it is quite difficult for some of y'all, depending on what country you live in, to actually have savings account. For us in America, it's just as easy as going to the grocery store, picking up some groceries. We can open up a savings account pretty easily. I don't know many restrictions against it because the banks only want to hold your money hostage anyway. All right, now for my people in America, we were told to work hard, save your money, live below your means, and you'll be okay. For the most part, that's partially true. And we were also told for those who are ambitious enough to have 6 months of emergency funds saved, just in case for something happen unexpected, you lose your job, etc. Now, for those who actually have 6 months of emergency funds saved that can cover all your expenses for 6 months, congratulations to you. You deserve it. You are ahead of 90 to 95% of the entire population having 6 months of emergency funds saved. Me personally, I don't have that saved, not in my bank account. I probably have about $500 in my bank account, only because that's the threshold where they won't charge me any money, any extra fees if I have below $500 in my savings account. So, and even in my savings account, they pay me 0.1% interest. And for those who have a high yield savings account, for you lucky bastards, you make about 4 to 5% interest on your money, depending on how much you have in there. Only problem with that is inflation. Now let's talk about that. Inflation in 2022 was 8%. I'm only gonna go back 3 years. That's enough for me to get my point across. Inflation in 2022 was 8%. That's CPI inflation. CPI, Consumer Price Index. These are the basket of goods they tell us that we use, the average person uses on a day-to-day basis. So the CPI is just average inflation rate. Depending on what you purchase, it could be more than that. Your inflation rate could be higher. So 8% for 2022. But let's put things into perspective when we talk about interest or inflation. Dollar Tree, one of my favorite stores, they increased their prices from $1, which is called the Dollar Tree. So their prices are, everything is $1. Makes sense, right? They increased their prices to $1.25. So now that's a 25% increase for those who are not tracking. Forget the 8% inflation rate that they say CPI. If Dollar Tree increased their prices by 25%, what do you think the actual inflation rate is? If I had to say it, it's anywhere about between 13 and 15%. That's my guesstimation. All right, back to your high yield savings account. And we're gonna be gracious and give you 5%. 5%, inflation is at 8%. So you effectively lost 3% of your capital. You lost 3% of your purchasing power. 2023, inflation is at 3.9%. If you're making 5% interest, like I said, we're gonna be gracious. You saved 1% of your purchasing power. In my opinion, you're effectively breaking even because that's over a whole year. In 2024, inflation is about 2.9%. So now you're making 2%. A little better than last year, but 2%, you save your hard-earned money, you got 6 months. Now really you're at 3 years, not even 6 months. And you're 1 year you lost 4% or 3. And you gain 1 or 2% back respectively the next 3 years. So over a 3-year span, you broke even, but you really lost purchasing power, which is the name of the game. You still want your money to be able to purchase the same thing you purchased 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But as we know, that is not the case. They already told us inflation is 2 to 3% annually anyway. So just with those numbers, in 50 years, half of your money has been inflated away. All right, that brings me to Bitcoin. Why I choose to save in Bitcoin. Bitcoin since 2022 has increased about 600% since 2022. The year-to-year averages are a little different, but since 2022, Bitcoin was increased about 600%. The lowest it was in 2022 was about 16,000. Now I did purchase some higher than that, but currently today, even at the little dip it has taken, it's about 110,000. So once again, Bitcoin has increased about 600% in 3 years. So if we keep going at this rate, that little funky little high yield savings account that you have, it can't compete. This is why we save in Bitcoin. Peace out.